Okay, students, so now let's gonna implement that DataUtil class. Remember, the order of this video is array list lab, right? You're gonna understand how to create method, how to create um, the array list, use the split methods for a string, create objects, and add the object to the list using a while loop, right? Then you go to project phase 2 description. When I explain like the architecture of the project, the design of the project, and then data reader when we created the method, right? To read the files and create the objects and add the objects to the array list. Okay, after watching those videos, now we're going to continue with that data util class. What is the purpose for this class? Remember, your class model are student, schedule, major, faculty, course, roster, right? They are your class model. Okay, then you implemented the data reader. Create additional methods to process the file using your class model, correct? Okay, this class data reader has the purpose just to read the data and populate all the array lists in your project. Okay, like pulling the data from the database, that's it. Now, the data util is gonna have useful method that you're gonna use when you execute your main project. Okay, the main project is the application project that you have a main method inside, but you need different classes now. Okay, so data util. Remember, when you print, when you call the main project, alright, you will have to display the objects in your list and display the menu. This is the requirement for your project. Okay, this is the main project. You run that and automatically you will have to display the data, the object that you have in your list. It means that when you run that, you will have to call the data reader and also the data util. Why? Because the data reader just store the data, but it's not printing anything, right? Correct? Remember, student? Just add the object to the list, but you are not printing the objects. You're going to print the object here in DataUtil. You will have to implement print course roster list, print department list, print faculty list, print major list, print schedule list, print student list, and more things that later you're gonna see. Okay, but for now, this method, see that, of course, you can use later inheritance polymorphism, but for now, it's gonna do simple, and you can keep like this for your project. Don't worry. So you're gonna receive what? A list. Alright? All these methods are gonna be void methods that are gonna receive a list. Why a list? Because you already have the object in a list because you run that data reader first. Got it? Okay. The only thing that you will have to do is, for example, it's gonna do for what is a student. Okay. You will have to do is the same thing that we did in the employee application lab. Remember? The same thing. Now let's gonna print all the objects that we have in the list. Remember, in the student list, sorry, in the student class, we created a method print student. So let's gonna call the method print student. because it prints one object, right? One student, but we have everything in a list. So here we're gonna call in a for loop, okay, the print student for each student that is in the list. Remember, you're gonna receive here an array list with all the student, all the student objects. Now, just do a for loop to print all the students. Okay, this is that you will have to do. Okay, so how can we do that? There is an enhanced for loop that I didn't teach you. I guess it's a good opportunity to teach you that. For. Okay, start with the for. Now, sorry, what happened with my, oops, sorry. My screen, okay. For each student, okay, for each student in the list, okay, so you don't need to create index, you don't need to use that we did before. With this enhanced for loop, is special for objects. So see the syntax for each student, right? You have the class student. You're going to use the reference variable s. For each student in this list, what happened that? Now you're going to have in the variable s the student, and you're going to repeat the first student, and you're going to repeat this for loop a lot of times. So every time that you repeat the for loop, you're going to have a new student in the variable s, a new student, new student, new student, new student, until you cover all the students in your list. So the only thing that you will have to do later is s dot print student. And you're going to print the information for the student. If you don't like that, okay, that is going to be really useful, okay? Of course, test it, practice, right? You can do for index less than what? Less than size of your list, right? Correct? And now, what do you have to do is, okay, now I'm gonna use the first object that is in my list. Okay, student list that, sorry, students dot get the first element dot print student. Okay, either way is gonna be fine. Okay. Okay, again, you can use this one or the enhanced for loop for each student in the list. Okay, print the student info. They are equivalent, the same thing. I like to use that, but I told you how to use this general for loop, but you can use that for objects only. So either way, it's gonna be okay. Okay, this is, you will have to implement the same thing for roster, department, faculty. So remember, you will have to implement the method print major in the class major, print faculty in the class faculty, print course roster in the class course roster. print department in the class department and apply the string format, and then print the string that you format to have the correct width for the columns. Okay, this is what we're gonna do for now in the data utility class. We're gonna add a lot of lines later. For now, this is okay. I'm gonna finish this video, and then I'm gonna teach you in the last video how to use from the main method the data reader and the data utility. Okay, thank you.